Do you want to hear about one of the most daring assaults of the entire Second World War? Well, then stick around because today we're talking about the 10th Mountain Division's assault on Riva Ridge. The year is 1943, and the Allies have just taken the island of New Guinea in the Pacific. But this victory came at a cost because the Japanese had fortified the northern slopes of a mountain called Riva Ridge, and this has become a bit of a problem for the Allies because the ridge overlooks the main supply road and the river beyond it. So if they can't dislodge the Japanese from their positions, then they run the risk of being cut off from their supply line. So to solve this problem, the 10th Mountain Division was brought in to dislodge the Japanese, and they did so in the most spectacular fashion. Now, normally when soldiers were sent to capture an enemy position, they would do so by moving in at night and assaulting the enemy at dawn when visibility was at its lowest. This is what was known as an assault, and it was a risky strategy, because if the element of surprise was lost and the enemy was ready for them, then there could be heavy casualties. But the 10th Mountain Division had a much more daring plan. Their plan was to take out the Japanese during the day when visibility was at its highest. This meant that they would have to be very quiet while they marched, which was extremely difficult because the terrain was such that it was hard to move without making noise. But they managed to pull it off, and once they got close enough, they started their assault. Now, normally, when an assault team got close to an enemy position, they would yell and scream and try to break through the enemy lines with their bayonets. But these men knew that if they did that, then the Japanese defenders would be ready for them. So instead, they did something even more terrifying. They stood up, and then they started to slowly clap. As the sound of the clapping grew louder, the Japanese defenders started to panic because they couldn't see who was making the noise. And this worked exactly as planned. The 10th Mountain Division took out the Japanese defenders one by one until every single one of them was either dead or captured. It was one of the most spectacular victories of the war, and it showed the world that the Japanese army was not invincible. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe so you never miss an upload. And as always, thank you for watching.